Introducing SAM, Genetec's new System Availability Monitor. The System Availability Monitor, or SAM, lets you collect health information and view the health status of your security center systems to help you prevent and resolve technical issues. Certified technicians can view this information from the Genetec Technical Assistance Portal, or GTAP, for any systems that are covered by a software maintenance agreement. Using the System Availability Monitor, you can monitor your security center entities almost in real time, with updates usually occurring every 15 minutes. SAM is also helpful to view a list of all your systems for monitoring in one location, showing you the system ID, system name, and number of errors currently active on the system. You can use various filters and pre-configured lists to limit the systems you're viewing, and can see more information on availability or health issues for a particular system if needed. To use the System Availability Monitor, you must be running Security Center version 5.3 or later, and the agent software will need to be installed on a Windows 7, 8, 8.1, Server 2008, or Server 2012 machine. If your directory server is not running one of these supported operating systems, you can choose to install SAM on a different machine and configure it to look for a different machine for the directory. In case you have the system configured with multiple directories for failover purposes, we recommend installing SAM on an independent machine that will not be affected by a failover condition. Let's take a quick look at how the information is transferred between your security center systems and the GTAP using the System Availability Monitor. On the right, we have our security center system. There are two important components that are installed when we set up SAM: the System Availability Monitoring Agent and the Genetec Update Service. Outside of your security center system is the cloud, where we have a few services running that are used by your system. Finally, we have the GTAP website, where you'll be viewing the information from your system. The System Availability Monitoring Agent collects the information from the health monitoring role that is running on your system. The health monitoring role monitors all the system entities, such as servers, roles, and units, and records any health events in a database for reporting and statistical analysis. For this reason, the health monitoring role should never be deactivated. Any changes to the role or the database used by the role will affect the information seen in the System Availability Monitor. The information collected by the System Availability Monitoring Agent is sent up to the cloud and is stored by the health monitoring services. When monitoring information is requested by a user logged onto the GTAP, a query is made by the Health Report Services, which sends the information it received from the health monitoring services down to the GTAP. Additionally, we have the auto update services running in the cloud, which provide the Genetec Update service on the server with the latest software changes made to the System Availability Monitor. The Genetec Update service makes sure that the System Availability Monitoring Agent and itself are always on the most recent version of the software. The service will check for new software versions 5 minutes after a restart and every 6 to 12 hours afterwards. Let's move on to see how we can install the System Availability Monitor on our server. Before we begin, there's a few things we need to check on the server. First of all, since we're using cloud-based services for this, we'll need to have a good persistent connection to the internet from the server that will be hosting SAM. We also need to make sure the time is synchronized on this server, as any time difference will prevent the transmission of health data from the server. SAM is composed of both the System Availability Monitoring Agent and the Genetec Update service, but both will be installed when we run the installation package. If you're using SAM with a Security Center 5.3 GA system, there's some additional steps required before and after the installation. The pre-installation step is to install the Security Center 5.3 GA SAM hotfix, which corrects a recently found delay issue. This should be done on every server on your system. To start the installation for any 5.3 system, go to the folder called Installation from the SAM software package. Run the Genetec SAMA setup executable file to start the installation. Follow the instructions to accept the license agreement and the privacy statement. Next, you'll have to choose which data collection policy to enforce. There are 3 types of policies. If you will not be monitoring your systems through the GTAP, SAM can still be used to collect data anonymously. This information is used for statistical purposes by Genetec, but the data is not linked to any particular system. The second type of policy is the most common, where you'll be using the System Availability Monitor to view your health information from the GTAP. The system will need to be covered by a Software Maintenance Agreement, or SMA, and will need to assign an activation code, which we'll look at in a second. The last policy is to not collect any data at all. You could select this option when you'll be selectively monitoring a system, but could want SAM to be inactive the rest of the time. As we mentioned, choosing to collect data and associate it to your system will ask you for the activation code. To generate a code, log on to the GTAP, go to the System browser under the System Management section, and search for the system you want to generate a code for. With the system selected, look for the Activation Code for System Availability Monitor section on the right and click on the Generate button. The most recent code generated will be the active code, and any previous codes will be obsolete and unusable. This code will only be active for 24 hours. If you haven't associated the code to a SAM in that time frame, you'll have to generate a new code. Enter the code generated into the installation window, then click on Install and finally on Finish. We have one post-installation step to do if we're installing SAM on a Security Center 5.3 GA system. On any directory server on the system, we need to make sure the REST service is enabled. To enable the REST service, log on to the directory server and open the File Explorer. Go to the folder where you've installed Security Center and look in the Configuration Files folder. Open the file called genetecserver.gconfig in Notepad or another text editor. Take a look for the section beginning with Configuration and add the following line. You can take a look in the System Availability Monitor tech note to just cut and paste the line from there. This will set the port to what we have configured in this line, but if you need to use a different port, you can replace the number here. Just make sure the port is not already in use. Save the file and close it, and we'll have to make a couple of changes to another configuration file. Open the genetecserver.persistentservices.gconfig file in Notepad or another text editor as we did for the previous file. Take a look in the section beginning with Service Domains and add this line in the section, which can also be found in the TechNote document. Within the same file, look for a second section which starts with Static Services. Here's the line to add to that section, which will complete the setup of the REST service. Save this file and close it, and from here we'll need to restart the Genetec server service to get the REST service to activate on this directory. To make sure the port is active and working, run a netstat-an command to see if the port is in use. You should see listening next to the port, like in this example. I want to just take a minute to touch on the silent install method that can be used instead of the manual install that we just did, in case you have multiple servers to do, for instance. To run the silent install, you'll need to run the Genetec SAMA setup executable with the following parameters in the command line. The data call policy can be set to off, on, or anonymous, which is the default value if not specified. If it's set to on, we can use the activation code parameter and assign the value generated from the GTAP. This can also be left out and configured later on. The FO parameter is the connection string we use to connect to the REST service. Now that we have SAM installed, let's take a look at the configuration needed and any extra steps that may be helpful in the future. To open the SAM configuration application, click on Start, go to the Genetec folder, and click on the Genetec System Availability Monitor Agent program. The first thing we need to do is add our directory server to the list of current directories. If the list is empty or the directory you wish to add is not in the list, hit the Create button on the bottom to add a new directory server. Click on the server to modify, and click on the Edit button on the bottom of the list. From the pop-up window, we can edit the IP address of the server and the port number used. This is the port we set up when we configured our REST service on the directory server. Hit OK when the changes have been made, and hit the Save button. Repeat the steps to add any failover directory servers to the list as well. Make sure all the ports in use are unblocked on the network, and make sure the SAM agent can connect to all the servers. You'll see the status next to the server. The usual status is Security Center is reachable. Click the Refresh button on the bottom right to see any status updates. In case we need to change the data collection policy, we can do this from the agent as well. On the top left, you'll see the current data collection policy setting. Click on the Modify button to make any changes to the policy. Choose the appropriate policy to use and hit the OK button to close the pop-up window. If you choose the data collection option, you'll need to set up the activation code for the system. In case this system was set up with a code previously, the system ID that was in use will appear in this field. Click on the Unlink from Given System ID button to remove the previous system and add a new code. Once it verifies the code, it will display the system ID in use. Please ensure that this system ID matches the system that you're using. Hit OK and Save to confirm the changes. Let's have a look at how to monitor our systems within SAM now that we have it all set up. To view your system, first you'll need to log on to the GTAP. Remember to use your personal GTAP account and not the system ID, otherwise you won't see the menu option we need. Under the System Management section, click on System Availability Monitor. From here you can choose to view all systems, view eligible systems that have monitoring installed, or any problematic systems which currently have active errors. Using the filters, we can limit the list of results based on the system ID, the system name, or the name of the end user. We can also choose to filter based on a minimum or maximum number of errors. By default, we'll be looking at systems, but we can choose to view the list based on health issues. This will give us the list of all errors for any system you manage, and can also be filtered based on the system ID, system name, and the name of the end user. Clicking on a system ID, system name, or number of errors in either of these sections will bring up a window with the individual details for this system. The system ID or name will bring you to the Availability section, and the error number will bring you to the Health Issues section. You can switch between the two using these buttons here. You can also pull up the monitoring window for a system by selecting the system from the System browser and clicking on the system status from the System Availability Monitor section. It will either say the system is healthy or give the number of active errors on the system. The last update time is listed below this information along with a refresh button. From the Availability section, we get to see the statistics for any entity groups or role types on the system, including the percentage of time the entity has been up or down, the total time it has been up or down, and the number of issues. Using the Showing Last buttons above the list, we can select how long of a time frame to consider for the statistics. Please note that it may take up to 48 hours before availability information is populated for new entities. A view like this, where all the values are 0, is normal when you first install the System Availability Monitor, no matter how long the system has been up and running. Here's a more realistic look at one of our test systems where we brought down some roles and cameras. Clicking the Health Issues section shows us any active errors, including the error message, the entity that generated the error, and what time it happened. In case the entity is not in the same time zone as the server, both the local and server timestamps are given. One small issue you may run into is if the entity name is changed on the Security Center system, but is not updating in the System Availability Monitor. In this case, try to restart the unit or role to get it to reconnect to Security Center, and this should send the new information over to SAM. The Health Issues list has a refresh button on the bottom, as does the list of systems or health issues in the System Availability Monitor tab of the GTAP. The last thing I'd like to take a look at are a few troubleshooting steps that might be useful for you. In case you're in the SAM agent application and it cannot connect to a server, first take a look at the port that was configured in the REST service and the port in use by the server in the agent. Second, make sure the SAM server and the directory server can communicate over the network through this port. Make sure any firewalls in place have this port unblocked or add exceptions to allow traffic to go through. If it looks like the servers are connecting but you're not getting any information on the GTAP, there are also a few things to look into. First of all, we need to make sure the server that the System Availability Monitor is running on can connect to the internet. Since the information is going up to the cloud and then going to the GTAP, a good stable connection to the internet is essential. Next, take a look at the SAM agent and make sure the data collection has been enabled. Modify the data collection settings and take a look at the system ID that has been associated with this system. It's possible another system was selected when the SAM activation code was generated on the GTAP, and mismatching system IDs will not allow any information to pass through. You can generate a new code, clear the system ID, and apply the new code in this case. This would also be a good step to take if the code was not applied within 24 hours of generation and may have expired before it was activated. The last troubleshooting step is more of an informative tip for when you get the system going for the first time. As soon as SAM is set up, it will start collecting information from the health monitor role and working on the up and down time statistics. In case the system is still being set up and there may be some role restarts, we may want to reset the SAM statistics. To do this, we first need to open the File Explorer on the SAM server and go to the Genetec SAMA folder. Delete the file called checkpoint and restart the Genetec SAMA service to recreate it. It will now start logging events from the time of the restart and onwards only. If you ever need to change the system ID or the data collection policy in the SAM agent software, it would be a good idea to delete the checkpoint file and restart the service. This concludes our training video on the System Availability Monitor. If you require more information on a particular topic, please refer to the System Availability Monitor User's Guide or the TechNote documents. Thank you for watching.